Call to order the meeting of the Ascension Parish Council, November 17th, 2022. Will all please rise for an indication and pledge? Coach, would you please do us the honor?
Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, as we come at this hour in the evening, come, Lord, to truly say thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon us. We thank you, Lord, for this parish of Ascension. We pray, Lord, a blessing upon each and every person under the sound of my voice. Lord God, as we come, Father, we ask, Lord, that we thank you for Thanksgiving. I ask that you have, and I ask that each of us have a happy Thanksgiving. Bless the families, bless our homes, bless this council. Continue to bless and guide, lead and direct us in a mighty way. Allow us, Lord, to finish this year in strong captivity. We ask, Lord, that you continue to bless us. In your name we pray, and we all said amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Coach. Roll call, Madam Secretary. For the record, Councilman Orgeron and Councilman Mason are absent tonight. For the chair's additions, I have none tonight. Next item is public comment signing period. If there's an agenda item that you want to come and make a comment on, either in favor of or in opposition to, please fill out a card over there by Cinnamon and present it to her, and she'll bring it up to us, and we'll call you when that agenda item comes up. Parish President's report. Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Council. So I know we have an extremely large agenda today. So I have James LeBlanc here. He's going to come up and do a brief 50-minute presentation on safety items of 2022. I'm kidding, of course. We all remember last year, so can't forget last year. So no, actually, President's report is less than 60 seconds. I just want to wish this Council and as well as our administrative staff, our hardworking parish employees, and all the citizens of Ascension Parish a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Chair.
Certainly. Okay. Item 6, general business. A, approval of Ascension Parish Government Health and Life Insurance for 2023. Harry and Taylor Robert. Good evening, gentlemen. Good to see y'all.
Thank you, Council Lady, Councilman. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to work with y'all again. You know, it's especially pleasurable when we get up here and have nothing but good news. So, naturally, you know, with the inflationary period that we're in and everything, you kind of expect things to go up, to rise. Well, fortunately, our health insurance carrier came out with some terrific good rates, which is less than 2% increase. So all of last year, we had favorable reports on the service and the providers, and all the rates are basically, you know, under 2% increase. So I think probably the good news is that we have no bad news. The other good news is that we have the opportunity to increase one of the provisions in our plan, which is called the Employee Benefit Program. Now, what this does, it takes a lot of the pressure away from families who are having any type of problem in their lives, whether it's monetary problem or drugs, addiction, the neighbors, the friends, anything of that nature. It's a personal association that they can develop with this firm that kind of interacts with them and leads them in the right direction. I know probably every time, sometimes in our lives, you know, we've all been taught that, hey, you got to kind of take care of that guy that's on your shoulder, you know, your conscience. And I think that probably this is a perfect opportunity for us to show that we have a conscience, we can take care of our employees. You know, for a fee of less than $5,000 a year, you know, this expanded program can be available not only to the participants in the medical program, but also the the employees who are not involved in the medical program. So it takes care of all of the employees that we have and offer this service to them. That's probably that's something that can't really be measured until you're one of those people who need the assistance, okay? So we are asking that you consider, upfronting all of the charge involved with that particular privilege, which is under $5,000 a year for all your employees, And then the medical insurance, like I was saying, with all the related type of coverages also provided in that particular portfolio, all those rates are basically the same. So we're asking y'all, as our recommendation, with the blessing of the Human Resource Department and Insurance Committee, to go ahead and to renew the coverage with the same privileges and the same performance that we had last year, and with the same company at the same rates that we had last year with the nominal 2% increase. And I think also it would be a good gesture for the additional employee benefit, employee assistance benefit, that the parish would probably fund that whole program, which is under $5,000, as a gesture to your employees, rather than letting employees participate in that 25%.
Motion.
Got a motion from Chase and a second from Terry already. Okay. Got one abstention. Any objection? Any further discussion? Motion carries.
Thank you, Janice and Eddie. Appreciate it. Thank you a lot. Okay.
Item B, approval of Project Freezer, Blue Runner Foods Incorporated, for participation in the ITEP under the Post-Executive Order 2018 rules. Kate McCarthy, I think Kate's not here, but Lisa's coming up.
Good evening, y'all. So for Blue Runner Foods, they're coming back to us because in 2021, they went through the ITAP process and for a new frozen food line at the manufacturing facility here in Gonzales. However, that construction did not begin because they decided not to add that frozen food line, but instead a bottled and sealable bag line. So most of the assets listed on the breakdown remains the same with the exception of the spiral freezer and the storage freezer. But they'll be adding a cooling tunnel and a deep palletizer. The number of jobs remains at 8 new jobs, and the project is expected to be completed by September of next year. LED would not allow them to go through and modify their contract that we already approved, or you already approved, so we had to start over with this new project.
Okay.
Motion to
by
approve.
Councilwoman Cazzo. Second by Coach. Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Next item. Approval of Project Panther Shell Chemical Company, participation in the ITEP under the Post-Executive Order 2018 rules. Lisa, please.
All right, Shell Chemical is considering constructing a new polyalpha olefins plant within the Geismar facility. The project is a $512 million investment with 12 new permanent jobs and $924,000 in annual new payroll. Over the 30-year life, the project will generate approximately $16.6 million for the parish, with an estimated property tax revenue of $14.5 million and a sales and use tax revenue during construction of $2.1 million. The tax incentive under this program is a $12 million abatement from the parish's millage during the first 10 years of project operations.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Terry, second by Coach. Any further discussion, any questions, any objection? There being none, motion carries. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. I have
Appreciate
one
you.
more.
You got another one? Oh, okay, D, that's right. Approval of a cooperative endeavor agreement for the 2023.
Second.
Motion by Chase, second by Dow. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries.
Thank you all so
Lisa.
much.
Appreciate you. Go ahead, Chase.
I'm sure I speak for all of us whenever I want to thank you and Kate and all of y'all. Y'all do a fantastic job and very, very appreciative.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Moving along, item E, approval of an amendment number 2 in the amount of $12,500 to the contract of Louisiana Claims Administrator, LOCA, third-party administrator, to include additional services, review incident reports involving first-party property claims for heavy
Motion to
equipment.
approve, sir.
Motion by Terry, second by Joel.
I have a question.
Chase.
Yeah, I guess this will be directed to you, Miss Lucy. Is this the same company that we met with at our last meeting in Dawsonville via executive session?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So with that being the case, at this time, I would like to offer amendment to raise the administration's ability to settle a claim up to $25,000 as recommended to us.
This actually is a different type of feature that this is the risk management portion. This has nothing to do with the workers' comp
Okay.
portion.
Yeah,
All
this is
right.
additional
Well,
services.
I apologize.
Yes.
I'll withdraw that.
That's
then.
okay, but we could talk about that
Okay.
already.
Okay. Got a motion and a second? Any objections? Motion carries. Item F, approval of amendment number 2 to the master contract with DRC Emergency Services LLC for waterway debris removal to increase the contract term through November 30th, 2023. No change in the amount. Rachel, welcome. Got a motion by Chase, second by Dow. Any objection? Being none, motion carries. Item G, approval of renewal of a master contract with DRC Emergency Services for debris removal during declared emergencies through December 31st, 2023. Motion by Coach, second by Terry. Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Item H, approval of renewal of a master contract with Thompson Consulting Services for debris monitoring and related services during declared emergencies through December 9th, 2023. Cost will be per fee schedule. Moved by Terry, second by Coach. Any objection? There being none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item I, approval of amendment number 11 to the contract with Evans Graves Engineering for Parish Sewer Project to correct a topographical error in amendment number 9 to increase the total amount of task order 3, construction services, by an additional $62,719.88 for a total contract not to exceed the amount of $637,411.48 and to extend the contract term through December 31st, 2022. Motion by
Second.
Dempsey, second by Terry. Any objection?
I got a question.
Chase, go ahead.
So is there any end in sight for this project?
We're working on it right now. We know we're going to run through the end of the year. We're working with Armina with grants to possibly reduce scope. Regardless, we do have a good bit left to do at the number 2 well where we've had issues for a year and a half now.
Got it, okay. In this, I'm looking for this typographical error in amendment number 9, was that just in the dollar amount?
Yes.
Okay,
Transpose some numbers.
okay. All right, I'm good.
Any other discussion? Dempsey?
Chair, thank you. And I'd like to extend our welcome to Matt and
Thank you.
appreciate all the hard
Yeah.
work you're doing and
Appreciate that.
your group, hearing good comments out there and you returning phone calls, so that's
trying.
that's a plus. Appreciate everything. Thank you.
All right.
Can I
Terry,
Can
go
I
ahead.
second that? Thank
Oh.
you very much, Matt. We appreciate you. It's been very nice to be able to reach out to you either by email or by phone.
Good. Awesome.
Work
Thank you.
on those issues that we have out there, and you have been very helpful.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Good.
you.
Anything else? No objection? There being none, motion carries. Thank you, Matt. Let's see what else we got. Review of selection committee recommendation of the following top 5 ranked firms of Schutz Surveying, SJB Group. I'm sorry. Approval of amendment number 1 for the cooperative endeavor agreement with National Water Infrastructure Services LLC for wastewater collection and treatment services for an additional $70,544.50 for a new total not to exceed amount of $994,544.50. Matt?
Second.
Motion by Coach, second by Terry. Any discussion? Chase?
Exactly what is the services for?
So pending the sale to NWI through the Public Service Commission, we have a monthly fee that we
The
pay.
additional services, I'm sorry. The additional 70,000,
Right,
what?
so the removal of sludge from 6 locations, 6 sewage plants. The second point is repair of the aerator at Lamar Dixon. The motor and propeller are beyond serviceable repair, so we've got to replace them. And then the addition of a 250-gallon post-aeration chamber at Hidden Farms. And so those exceed the monthly service fee, and we have to
Okay.
ask for a little bit more for it.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion? Any objection? There being none, motion carries.
Thanks very much.
Now, review of the selection committee recommendation of the following top 5 ranked firms of Schutz Surveying, SJB Group, Crescent Engineering and Mapping LLC, Earls and Associates, and Quality Engineering, and approval to enter into contract for professional surveying and subsurface utility engineering services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Chase, second by Terry. Any questions? Any further discussion? There being none, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Burris. Appreciate it. Item L, approval of a change order number 1, Acadian Commercial Contractors LLC, Fire District Number 1, Station 41 renovations, 5th Ward Substation, to include alternates 1 and 2 from the original bid for a total additional amount of $124,290 for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,122,790. Josh Wingirter. Is Josh here? Motion by Chase, Dempsey, second by Terry. Any questions? Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Approval of change order number 1, Acadian Commercial that just did that, right? I got to watch how I'm checking these. Approval of contract with Amco Fence and Steel Company LLC, hurricane damage fence repair at Lamar Dixon Center for a total amount of $58,128. Dean?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Chase, second by Dow. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item N, approval of certificate of substantial completion, BRP Construction LLC, Registrar of Voters Office renovations. Motion by Coach, second by Joel. Any objections? There being none, motion carries. Item O, approval of change order number 1, Angelo and Sons Electric, OEP generator connections to extend the contract term to December 31st, 2022, due to delay in receiving transfer switch. Dow has a comment?
No,
No.
he made a
Made the
motion.
motion, second by Joel.
He has a question.
Okay, question, Joel.
What type of delay are we looking at, or do they even have a foreseeable date?
It's supposed to be here.
I remember talking about
Third
it.
week of December. That's transfer switches. They have electronics in them. Everything takes forever to get nowadays. We ordered this in March of this year, and that's how long we've been waiting.
And I know this is a long shot, but I'm going to kind
Supply
of
chain.
make a
Yeah.
suggestion. I had to look for a transfer switch for,
Well, we have a manual in place right now,
okay.
so they can operate, but to do it properly, we want to put an automatic there.
If
so
we
a man
can
ain't gotta
operate it
get
now,
out
we're
in the
good.
weather.
Yeah, that's fine.
But when the automatic gets here, we're gonna swap them.
That works.
But yeah,
That's
no,
all.
they
Thank
can
you.
operate.
Any further questions? Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Item P, approval to enter into a contract for replacement of controls for the HVAC systems at the Courthouse Annex Building with the lowest responsive quote submitted by Johnson Controls in the amount of $187,100. Dean?
Yeah, we got 3 quotes on this. They were all fairly close. Johnson Controls was the low bidder. They also have the same control system as our new administration and our new
Motion.
courthouse.
Second.
Motion by Joel, second by Coach. Any objection? There being none, motion carries.
Thank y'all.
All right, Dean.
Item Q, approval of amendment number 11 to the master contract with HNTB Corporation Transportation Master Plan Development and Implementation, Move Ascension, to extend the contract term an additional year through December 31st, 2023. No change in contract amount. Motion by Chase, second by Terry. Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Approval of Item R, approval of entity state agreement with DOTD for LA 42 roundabout at Joseverio Road, LA 42 Ascension Parish, state project number H010795. and approval for Parish President Clint Quintmore to execute agreement. Motion by Joel, second by Dempsey. Any questions? Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Item S, approval of entity state agreement with DOT for US 61 Super Street, Lowe's Avenue to LA 44 US 61, Ascension Parish, State Project H015097, and approval for Parish President Clint Quintmore to execute agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Terry, second by Chase. Any questions? Any objections? There being none, that motion carries. Item T, approval of renewal of master contract between the parish and Fortin Tablata Incorporated for bridge load ratings for the parish-owned bridges. Total budget amount for this project is $150,000 shared between two providers. Joey, motion by Chase.
Second.
Second by Terry. Just a quick question, Joey. Who's the other provider?
It's Huval and Associates.
Okay, we already have them under contract, right?
Correct.
Okay. I got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item U, approval of amendment number 2 to the contract with Magnolia Service Group LLC to assist the Ascension Counseling Center with day-to-day operations for an additional amount of $21,000 for a total contract amount of $70,999 to extend the term through December 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Terry, second by,
Why are we increasing that contract amount?
Patrick?
This contract actually started out as somebody helping us with collections. Turned out she had valuable experience in administration. When we lost the director of the mental health unit, she stepped in, and originally it was a contract under $50,000 where we were just, going day to day. But when Our Lady of the Lake came in to help us with that administration, they found her as valuable as we did and started using her in a bigger capacity. So this is to help get us through the end of the year, to help with that administration, because losing the executive director, there wasn't a lot of continuity other than her. And so it's just going from a $50,000 to above 50.
And what was the executive director making a month?
Oh,
Well, she was somewhere around 85.
maybe 85.
And so we're paying this new contract with $21,000 for 2 months?
Well, this started, again, it started off as trying to help us with billing, and I think she immediately found about $100,000 just in billings that we weren't billing for, and so that was a big win for us. And then as we started losing staff and lost the director, she was helping with the administration as well. So really, this is trying to get us through until we can do that larger contract with Our Lady of the Lake. I think, in fact, from what I'm hearing from them, they'll probably want to keep her on as well, because she's a great asset to the mental health, because they've had trouble keeping staff.
Is she certified to have that position?
Well, right now she's just helping with administration. Our Lady of the Lake put people in place to meet all the certification requirements, all of the position requirements. So we're contracting with them to make sure we have the people in place in mental health to stay qualified as a mental health facility.
And so the company, or is it a company itself, or is it just an individual?
It's a company. I think it's just really just two people. It's Magnolia. It's a lady named Dana McGiven, and she's been helping us for several months now.
Does she work for Our Lady of the Lake?
No, she was just her own company. We've been working with her for a long time on the billings, and then when Our Lady of the Lake came in, it just kind of went together. When we lost the executive director, that's when a lot of this changed. Because there really wasn't time to try to find another one and meet all these certification requirements, so that's why Our Lady of the Lake came in, and then she was really stayed on just to help them. So we had asked her if she wanted to come on at a larger capacity, and she said, please no, but she agreed to stay and help us with some of the administration, with the billing part, with some of the scheduling, just those things, the front desk type of things that we really just didn't have a good handle on.
And as far as the entering into a contract with Our Lady of the Lake, so that's not going to be a bid, or it's going to be go out for bid or anything? They're just going to get it?
It would just be an agreement, and I think, I'm hoping in December we'll hear more about that from Our Lady of the Lake in the Finance Committee meeting. But that is still ongoing, trying to work on those contract negotiations. I know y'all have all got different, at different points y'all have been updated. Dr. Trevino was here, I think maybe last month or the month before. And so by December, hopefully the picture becomes much clearer.
And is there any reason why we're not putting that out for bid?
No, I think it's just working with one of the partners that we had already in the parish and trying to work through just an agreement that, it's a CEA, a cooperative endeavor, and it's, as far as I know, it's not required to be bid, and I think we had just been I think they've even said this process has been going on for a couple years now, trying to work with them, and since they were our local partner, that's where they started.
But that will be a pretty lucrative contract, correct?
It'll be,
Councilman Turner, would like to not talk about that particular contract, so it's not on the agenda. We'd like to be able to come with full information and be prepared for any questioning. So when we make that presentation, we'll be prepared. I don't want to get off tangent of what is on the agenda. This is a great fill gap from a qualified person to fill this as we make this transition. It's needed, and so this is want to focus on this fill-in gap for us to do this transition with Our Lady Lake. But the administration, as well as Our Lady Lake, will be fully prepared to answer any questions regarding that contract, and that as we get to that particular item on the agenda in the coming months.
We're just, we're simply going to speak specifically on this one. I guess what qualifications was needed to take over the position that she's going to be running now? And because we don't have anything in here showing where she's qualified to run that division.
well, she's not running the office. She is just assisting with administration. It's just a contract to help with those front office functions.
But the lady that left, she was required to have certain certifications, correct?
We did a separate contract with Our Lady of the Lake to cover those functions.
And so they've put somebody in place?
Yes.
And so what exactly is Magnolia Service Group doing with the extra $21,000 then, if Our Lady of the Lake put somebody else in place?
Well, that person is the director of the mental health facility. This is somebody who's doing the administrative functions for the office. So two different positions. This person that we're talking about is not running the office. They're helping with the administration, billings, collections, those type of things.
I have no further questions.
Councilman Robert.
I just wanted to make a statement in reference to Councilman Turner's statement, and this can be on the next agenda, but I would also like that question to be answered in December as to why we're not putting this out to bid, other than just making the contract with someone we're working with, Our Lady of the Lake. I think it's some very valid points. There's a lot of money in that contract, and I'm sure there's a lot of competitors. Not saying I have anything against working with Our Lady of the Lake, but something I'd like to discuss next month. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Have a motion by Terry, second by Dempsey, I think it was.
You didn't have a second.
Any objection?
Chairman, you didn't have a second.
I don't have a second. Okay. Got a motion from Terry. I'm looking for a second. I'll second it. Dempsey seconded. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item V, annual contract renewals for 2023 with the following. And I want to explain, each of these has to be approved individually. This is something that, by virtue of the fact that we did not have a finance committee meeting, this and other items that are on our agenda tonight are here for us to discuss and approve. And these contract renewals have to be approved one at a time. I'll read it, and if anyone has any questions, Patrick will be happy to explain it to us, okay? First item, Ascension Parish Fire District Number 3, funding of part-time firefighters.
Second.
Motion by Dow, second by
Chase.
Aaron Lawler. Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Ascension Parish Fire District Number 3, administrative functions.
Motion.
Motion by Terry, second by Aaron. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. City of Donaldsonville.
Second.
Motion by Coach, second by Joel. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. City of Gonzales, Fire District 1, Fire Protection Services. Motion by Dempsey. Second by Joel. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Clean Earth of Alabama, Household Hazardous Waste Materials Collection Event at Lamar Dixon. Motion by Terry. Second by Dow. Any objection? There being none, that Motion carries. Corporate mechanical, general maintenance, and emergency repairs on chiller plant 1 and 2 and all AC heating units at Lamar Dixon. Motion by Dow, second by Terry. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Corporate mechanical, general maintenance, and emergency repairs on chiller plant 1 and 2 and all it.
You already
I
did
just
that.
did that one, I'm sorry. Dr. Robert James, psychiatric and medical.
Barnes.
Dr. Robert Barnes, thank you. Psychiatric and medical services for mental health patients.
So moved.
Moved by Terry, second by Dow. Any objections? There being none, that motion carries. Dr. James Adams, Family Planning and STD Clinic at Health Unit East. Motion by Dempsey, second by Terry. Any objections? There being none, that motion carries. In telecom, programming and maintenance of communications equipment.
So moved.
Moved by Terry. Second by Chase. Any objections? There being none, motion carries. Lawton Industrial Services for temporary staffing. Motion by Terry, second by Dow. Any objections? There being none, that motion carries. Item 7, committee recommendations. New appointment to Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Chairwoman Terry Cazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Personnel Committee met on November 9th. I thank each member for being there. We had a full complement. Interviews was conducted, and the following recommendation is made. Brian Kleber as the new appointment, replacing Darla Harris.
Need a motion? Motion by Chase, second by Dow. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Welcome, Mr. Kleber.
He's going to be a great addition.
Item 8, planning and zoning recommendations. A, zoning review, IDPZ 2982.22, Lot 4 of Logan Patty, located on the west side of Daigle Road, approximately 1,600 feet south of Highway 929, to amend the parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to mixed-use corridor to accept or deny. Recommendation of the Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Evening, council. How we doing?
Good evening.
Logan Patty. I'm here to present rezoning of a property I own on Daigle Road. It's 7 acres, 5 acres of lightly wooded property. The front 2 acres are cleared off. I want to ask for recommendation of rezoning so I could do an office for my business. I'm a contractor. We do home building, concrete framing. I'd like to do a building with a nice, brick front to it, have a metal place where I can bring a metal building in the back where I can bring in customers to do like a showroom, kind of bring them in, show our work. Want to build the building set back off. I don't know if you'll have my packet that I submitted. I have plenty of room to go back. The property's 2,000 foot deep. I'd like to clear off a little bit more wood so I have room for more redevelopment at the front at a later time. With doing a metal building, I can take it down and move it and just get rid of the slab if I'd like.
Second.
Motion by Joel to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation. Second by Terry. Any questions? Terry?
Actually, I've received a couple calls on this.
Okay.
Being that it's in my district. Part of the concern is that it's being completely rezoned.
Right.
And it's more of a spot zoning, because if you look around it, it's all residential around it.
Well, the property actually conjoins to a commercial, and there's similar properties that are less than 1,000 yards from mine. My thought when I purchased this property was that, possibly I could buy the property connected into Airline for future development. That particular road is very busy. There's existing 6 trailers on one side of me, and there's vacant land still next to me, and then there's a 40-year-old house next door. It's not the most advantageous for residential. I've thought about it. Also, I'm in construction. I have, partners in development. It's definitely a thought. With the mixed use, I'd like to have that flexibility to where maybe at a later date I could, if I, gain more access to land there, to do something residential.
Well, the concern is, though, that with mixed use, what it's being changed to, there's a lot of other things that can go there also. And if it's changed forever.
Sure.
basically. Have you explored doing a spud on this property?
I talked about it, I'm a small contractor. I read the spud, definition and, pamphlet on it. Just seems like a lot more upfront work for what I'm looking to do at this time. I'm not as versed in the spud. It's brought up to me that I should look into it. That's probably something I'll look into more down the line as I do more development down the road.
Well, I understand, but this property specifically, I mean, Daigle Road is a residential road on both sides of it, all the way down. It's residential.
Towards Airline, you have Kids in Motion, there's a church, there's another business.
And those are zoned as such, but this isn't. And that's the concern, that we'd have a mixed use right in the middle of residential areas.
Okay.
Right there. What I'd really like you, and I've talked to some people in planning and zoning, is to consider doing a spud on this, because what you're doing, I think, is good. And I don't think it'd be a problem to the people around it, but the concern is not you. The concern is down the road. And we're also, this is, pretty close to the definition of spot zoning, when you've got residential on both sides of it, all along there, and then we're gonna have one thing right in the middle. This is also kind of a call to our planning and zoning department to we've talked about this a lot of times, is them looking at the entire parish and looking at our zoning and finalizing it. We have a master plan. They need to look at how we're going to rezone everything. Have you had the chance to talk to our zoning department about a spud?
I presented last week at the proxy meeting, or whatever meeting y'all call for the zoning commission, and I talked to a couple of representatives there about it. Not in much detail, though.
I think this would be better as a spud instead of just entirely changing the zoning on this, for eternity, basically. I'd prefer to see that. I'm going to make a substitute motion that we ask that you return to the planning and zoning department, and you could talk to Jerome Fournier and Lance Brock and those guys there. They do a great job with it because it's large enough. A spud, I think, has to be over 2 acres, and this is 7 acres.
Yeah. So the property's only 180 foot wide.
Yeah.
For a residential, you can't really put a road. You can't. It's under a high line. That was my thought for. So with the spud, what does that entail me doing? Is, like I said, I'm still new to this. I'm a young gentleman. What do I need to do for the spud to try to get this pushed through? Because at this moment, I'm kind of choked into, I don't have an office space to work out of, and I can't finance my new office to continue serving, consumers in the Ascension Parish market without, an office.
I'm not a specialist in the spuds, but I think you work with them to plan what it's going to be, and it's basically a contract that you're the one bound to develop this property in a specific way, and the next owner can't come in. And with a mixed use too, there are a lot of other uses, and they could put things in there that really don't work with the rest of that area.
So there's a difference between mixed use 1 and mixed use 2? And I might be just ignorant on that.
Yeah,
I think I was filing for mixed use 1.
Yeah, there are different uses. Unfortunately, my laptop isn't working, or my Apple, whatever thing is, isn't working, so I can't pull all that up. But, if you do a spud, you're saying that you're going to use it a certain way, and then in 50 years down the road or 2 years down the road, if you decide to move, the next owner comes in, they're bound by what this current zoning is. They can't be mixed use. They can't go in there and put a car wash. Oh, you got it working? Fantastic. Cinnamon McKeem, everybody. She's fantastic. I won't be able to get to it as quickly. But what I'm going to do is make a substitute motion that you return and talk to our planning zoning department, not just the commission, and see about getting this done as a spud instead of changing the zoning forever, because it really is right in the middle of a residential area.
You don't think that this will continue to become more commercial?
It's all zoned as residential right now.
With people buying that, if it's not advantageous for residential, it's not ever going to be anything other than trailers.
That's residential.
I understand. I'm just trying to bring, value to the community is all I'm asking,
Okay, I got a substitute motion by.
I'll second it.
Second by Dow. Terry?
Lance is here. Lance, would you like to weigh in for us, please?
I apologize. I did speak to Mr. Lance. We didn't go into detail, and my wife actually spoke to Lance, but we didn't go into detail about the spuds.
No problem.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Yeah, Mr. Logan is correct. We never went into much detail about a spud. They just asked for rezoning. And you're correct. With a spud, he actually has to, whatever he submits and whatever he is approved, he has to build. If any changes or any major changes has to come back through the council and through the commission for approval. Like Mr. Lawler stated earlier, this could be spot zoning, and also our master plan, land use plan reflects this property as being residential. So basically, that's what staff, and that's what our recommendation is.
What did the staff recommend?
Staff recommended to deny the rezone. But again, as Mr. Logan stated, we never discussed about a spud on this property. That was never even, I mean, it wasn't even brought up, I guess you could say. So it was never an option.
Any other questions? We got a amended motion by Councilman Lawler, seconded by Councilwoman Cazzo, to return this back to planning and zoning to consider a spud. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Aaron? Any objection to that motion? There being none, motion is, approval is denied by the council.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Council.
Item B, zoning review, IDPZ 2986.22, Track B for Joel Sanchez, located on the north side of LA Highway 74, approximately 1,030 feet east of KC Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to crossroads commercial, to accept or deny. Recommendation of the zoning commission is recommending approval. Lance?
Yeah, the zoning commission recommended approval. Staff did also for the rezone.
So moved.
Moved by Terry, second by Dempsey. Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, the motion carries. Item C, zoning review, IDPZ 3002.22, Bachelor property for ACED LLC, located on the east side of LA Highway 405, approximately 1,400 feet north of Paul LeBlanc Road, to amend Ascension Parish zoning map from medium industrial to heavy industrial, to accept or deny. Recommendation of the zoning committee is to approve. Motion by Joel, second by Coach. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Item 9, introduction of ordinances. Legal counsel. Introduction of an ordinance to amend the ordinance adopted on March 17, 2022, amending Section 16-1 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on June 20th, 1996, adopting a pay classification plan to adjust affected labor grades in order to implement a market study conducted by SSA consultants that compared Ascension Parish government positions to the current market conditions for compensation. I just need a motion to introduce. No seconds required. Councilman Melanson moved to introduce. Item B, introduction of an ordinance to amend an ordinance adopted on March 17, 2022, amending Section 16-1 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on June 20, 1996, adopting a pay classification plan to adjust pay ranges to allow for a three-tiered approach based on labor grade for a 2023 cost of living adjustment, COLA, effective January 9, 2023.
Motion to introduce.
Motion to introduce by Terry. Does anyone need any explanation on that? Okay. It's introduced. Item C, public hearing for the introduction of ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances to create a road infrastructure district designated as Parish of Ascension Road Infrastructure District number IDD 2022-3, Belle Sylvain, Phase 3, pursuant to the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, LDC, Appendix 4, Subdivision Regulation, Section 17-4011, approval of final plat, Procedure F, Infrastructure Development District. Motion to open a public hearing, I need. Motion by Joel to open a public hearing, second by Terry. Motion to close the public hearing by Joel.
Second.
Second by Terry. Introduction of the ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Code to create a road infrastructure district designated as Parish of Ascension Road Infrastructure District, IDD 2022-03, Belle Sylvain, Phase 3, pursuant to the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, LDC Appendix 4, Subdivision Regulation, Section 17-4011, approval of final plat, Procedure F, Infrastructure Development District. Motion by Joel to introduce. Okay, item E, public hearing for introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances to create a road infrastructure district designated as Parish of Ascension Infrastructure District ID 2022-05, Pelican Crossing, 6th filing, pursuant to the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, LDC Appendix 4, Subdivision Regulations, Section 174011, approval of final plat, Procedure F, Infrastructure Development District. I need a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Terry to open a public hearing. Motion, second by Joel. Motion to close public hearing by Joel. Second by Terry. Item F, introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances to create a road infrastructure district designated as Parish of Ascension Road Infrastructure District ID 2020-05, Pelican Crossing, 6th filing, pursuant to the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, Appendix 4, Subdivision Regulations, Section 17-4011, approval of final plat, Procedure F, Infrastructure Development District. I need a motion to introduce. Motion to introduce by Terry. Item G, introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, Article 3, Animal Control, to change language, rules, and penalties. Recommendation by the Animal Services Board. Motion approved by Terry. Item 10, public hearings, ordinances, legal counsel. A, reading of ordinance to amend the 2022 budget and appropriate the 2023 budget for Ascension Parish. Patrick's here to explain, and Kenneth will read the original ordinance.
Thank you. Whereas a revision of certain budgets for the 2022 budget year for certain funds has been prepared and submitted to the council as follows. 2022 operating surplus, deficit amended to, and fund balance after. Amendments. General, $1,704,200. Fund balance, $14,210,376. Road and bridge, deficit $514,000. Fund balance $145,298. East Ascension major drainage, deficit $12,427,500. Fund balance after $32,375,667. West Ascension drainage $76,000. $2,063,991. Sales and use tax, District number 2, fund $1,139,363. Sales and use tax district number 1, fund $5,295,000. $18,657,440. Criminal court $4,113,618. Health unit $529,000. $5,545,075. Mental health $1,147,000. $12,230,214. Fire district number 2, deficit $295,500. $1,839,458. Recreation, deficit $1,375,500. $5,365,191. Animal services, deficit $56,000. $2,284,707. Lighting district number 1, $18,524,486. Lighting district number 2, $62,500. $511,978. Lighting district number 3, $30,500. $381,349. Lighting district number 4, deficit $4,000. $161,798. Lighting district number 5, $15,000. $215,987. Lighting district number 6, $519,000. $3,983,491. Lighting district number 7, $8,000. $113,488. Right-of-way beautification district number 1, 0, 0. Right-of-way beautification district number 2, 0, 250. Right-of-way beautification district number 3, 500, 1,251. Ascension jail fund, deficit $1,008,000. $269,587. Law officers court fund, deficit $25,000. $21,920. Juvenile justice program fund, deficit $228,000. $7,418,471. HUD section 8, 0. $471,319. Judicial Expense Fund, Parish Court, 0, 100,494. Fire District Number 1, deficit 954,500, 4,246,238. Council on Aging, 179,800, 2,498,678. 23rd District Fins Fund, 18,500, 49,605. FEMA Rep, loss, reduction, acquisition, elevation, deficit 166,000, 1,203,078. Fire District Number 3, 650,000, 11,659,607. Brookstone Subdivision, Road District, 20,000, 39,990. Camber Oaks Subdivision, Road District, 14,000, 23,642. Camellia Cove Subdivision, Road District, 6,000, 12,982. Germany Oak Subdivision, Road District, 30,500, 41,999. Highland Trace Subdivision, Road District, 9,500, 18,058. Jamestown Crossing, First Filing, Road, 3,000, 7,766. Jamestown Crossing, Second Filing, RD, 15,500, 24,474. Villas at Rosewood Subdivision, RD, 3,000, 4,949. Pelican Crossing, Fifth Filing, RD, 6,500, 12,548. Rivertown First Filing, RD, 8,000, 15,939. Savannah Road, RD, 8,500, 12,877. Pelican Point Victoria Court, Road District, 500, 500. 2022 operating surplus, deficit amended to, fund balance after, amendments. Clare Court Subdivision, Road District, 00. Library Bond Fund, 0, 415,159. Sale Tax District Number 1 sinking, deficit 12,500, 867, 854. I'm sorry, 867, 852. Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 sink, deficit 6,000, 928,495. EA Major Drainage sinking, 1,000, 706,232. West Ascension Drainage Sinking Fund, 3,000, 60,647. Fire District Number 1 sinking, 500, 126,474. ACUD Number 1 sinking fund, deficit 500, 216,162. ACUD Number 1 reserve fund, 0, 66,001. Lamar Dixon Expo Center, deficit 649,000, 1,402,555. Utilities fund, deficit 141,000, 1,205, $109. ACUD Number 1, 6,000, 132,866. Parish Utilities of Ascension, deficit 232,500, 1,133,238. Ascension Parish Insurance Fund, deficit 799,000, 2,194,816. Maintenance Fund, deficit 602,500, 824,953. Dental Insurance, deficit 12,000, 106,487. Rural Construction Fund, deficit 41,000, 24,378,079. Move Ascension Fund, deficit 3,883,500, 20,683,221. Infrastructure Project Funds, deficit 2,000, 3,141,341. Light District Construction Fund, 0, 206,596. Mega Infrastructure Fund, 0, 7,094,292. EA Major Construction Fund, deficit 9,830,000, 34,919,199. WA Major Construction Fund, deficit 15,000, 88,500. Jail Construction Fund, deficit 248,000, 571,167. Courthouse Construction Fund, 0, 333,407. Office Building Construction, deficit 378,000, 418,431. Animal Services Construction Fund, 562,500, 740,415. Juvenile Justice Construction Fund, 749,000, 749,000. Health Unit Construction Fund, 0, 20,699. Fire District Number 1 Construction Fund, 113,000, 2,726,137. Fire District Number 2 Construction Fund, 445,000, 510,781. Fire District Number 3 Construction Fund, 0, 723,247. Water Wastewater Construction Fund, deficit 550,000, 10,055,902. LCDBG Lemonville Sewer Project, 0, 89,893. CDBG Construction Fund, deficit $1,080,500, $795,973. Hazard Mitigation Grant Fund, zero, $121,470. Dedicated Special Fund, Special Projects Fund, $10,745,500, $20,658,921. Park Construction Fund, deficit $2,077,000, $2,124,198. Whereas the proposed operating budget for year 2023 includes revenues of $137,386,700 plus required fund balance of $12,113,500 for a total equal to $149,500,200 and expenditures of $132,652,200. The capital budget includes revenues of $21,558,000 plus required fund balance of $61,237,000 for a total equal to $82,795,000 and expenditures of $99,643,000. Therefore, total operating and capital budget revenues plus required fund balance equal $232,295,200 and expenditures equal $232,295,200. Interfund transfers are $84,254,000. Whereas Ascension Parish Council has reviewed and considered such proposed budget and made revisions of same, and whereas said proposed budget was duly set after proper notice to the public for public hearing which was held on November 17, 2022, as required by the revised statutes of the state of Louisiana and Ascension Parish Home Rule Charter, therefore be it ordained, the Ascension Parish Council of the state of Louisiana, Section 1-2022 amended budget, that the amended budgets are prepared for 2022 are approved and appropriated by Ascension Parish Council with the stipulation that A, transfer from the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 fund to the general fund, the Road and Bridge Fund, and the Criminal Court Fund in the amount necessary to maintain a balanced fund, but will not exceed the amount authorized in the budget. The Recreation Fund is allocated 10% of the net 1% Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 revenues as an additional source of funding. Funding is also provided by an allocation to the Sales and Use Tax Number 1 Bond Sinking Fund and FINS, Family in Need of Services. To the extent that the resulting revenues of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 fund exceeds expenditures and transfers, and after an adequate fund balance equal to 6 months of expenditures is maintained, then such excess will be transferred 75% to the Mega Infrastructure Project Construction Fund and 25% to the Recreation Fund. The one-third net of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 revenues collected for fire protection shall be shared by Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 1 at 65%, by Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 2 at 13%, and by Ascension Parish Fire District Number 3 at 22%. All unexpended appropriations will lapse at December 31st, 2022. Section 2, 2023 budget. That the budget proposed for year 2023 is approved, adopted, and appropriated with the following provisions. A, expenditures not contemplated in the operation of the government of Ascension Parish as set forth in this budget are to be approved in accordance with the provisions of Article 7, Section 7-01 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish. B, transfer from the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 fund to the general fund, the Road and Bridge Fund, and the Criminal Court Fund in the amount necessary to maintain a balanced fund but will not exceed the amount authorized in the budget. The Recreation Fund is allocated 10% of the net 1% Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 revenues as an additional source of funding. Funding is also provided by an allocation to Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 Sinking Fund and FINS, Family in Need of Services. To the extent that the resulting revenues of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 fund exceed expenditures and transfers, and after an adequate fund balance equal to 6 months of expenditures is maintained, then such excess will be transferred 75% to the Mega Infrastructure Projects Construction Fund and 25% to the Recreation Fund. The one-third net of Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 revenues collected for fire protection shall be shared by Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 1, 65%, by Ascension Parish Fire District Number 2, 13%, and by Ascension Parish Fire District Number 3 at 22%. D, funding to provide for the 2022 encumbrances is hereby approved and appropriated. E, all unexpended appropriations will lapse at December 31st, 2023. This ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Second.
Motion to open public hearing by Councilman Robert, second by Councilwoman Cazo. Motion to close public hearing, second by
Second.
Councilwoman Cazo. Okay, at this time, The Finance Department has proposed amendments, and we need a motion on the amendments first, and then a motion to adopt the ordinance as amended. Chase?
Mr. Patrick, could you, well, I'm not asking you to go one by one. Can you give us a overview of all these amendments we have in front of us?
Sure, absolutely. You've got two sets, one's for 22 and one's for 23, the two different years. You'll notice most of these say GASB fair market value adjustment, and it's a very technical thing that occurred because of a national accounting standard, GASB 31, and you received a letter from the parish president describing this, that actually state law requires us, 39-13-11, to notify the council if we think revenues are going to be below 5% of what we project. Most of this is because of this accounting standard. It requires us to take all of our investments and mark them to market, so put the fair market value. We invest very conservatively. We are in government securities, so we've been getting very small percentages. Well, the rates have gone up recently. And on a market value, that makes our investments look like they're going down, but in reality, we're not going to sell our investments. We're going to hold them to maturity, but we're required to show that smaller value. So you'll see in here, most of these are to adjust the interest down so that we meet that standard. We've sent the letter per state law. We've done these adjustments because they require the letter and the amendments. And so that's the overwhelming majority. But what you're also going to see is there's some things with timing, like there's some money for recreation that's been moved from 21 or to 23. Also, you'll see early childhood a good bit because things moved a little bit faster than we thought, and they'll need a little bit more money as that project for the early childhood on the West Bank progresses. The other thing that you'll see is the rescue money, the ARPA money. Some of that is we're ready. Y'all have put in the resolution in support of the projects, and we're trying to get those things moving. And so part of that requirement is that we have to budget those. So those are the major things, and obviously these are the things that have happened since we put in the draft budget. But again, most of them are because of the fair market value. Also, you'll also see about the ad valorem tax. It looks like it's going down, but actually their projections were really high, so it's just a reduction of the increase. So it's just to adjust for those. And then there's a few technical things too. There were some typos. There were some federal FEMA funds that we needed to. I know it looks strange, put them in and then take them out, but that's just to satisfy some technical things for the budget. But those are the main things.
All right. So the increases and the decreases, that's or increase in spending and decrease in spending?
Yes, if you see the increases, that'll be increasing that budget item so we can increase the expenditures. So if you see an increase like for recreation, that means we hope to spend some of those funds if it's in 22. Hopefully we can spend those by December 31st. Some of these things may have been projects we didn't think were going to get done by the end of the year. Well, we have better information. When we put the budget in, we were kind of trying to forecast, and now we have a little bit better information. For 23, it's the same thing. If we're increasing that item, we're hoping to spend that. You'll see, again, some of those rescue money items, whether it's the trash wheel or it's the detention pond. Those things, we're hoping that, we'll get those spent by 2023, December 1st, 2023.
All right, so overall, how do all the amendments affect our 22 and 23 budget? Is there like a final dollar amount on?
Do we do a net? We didn't do a net, but just looking at these, because of the GASB, I think it would look like an overall negative. But again, remember, those are accounting reductions that we're not going to sell these investments, so those won't occur. It's just what we have to do by the end of the year. So if we didn't do a net, I apologize, but overall, I would say it's a negative because of the GASB adjustments.
Gotcha, okay. I was just a little overwhelmed when I sat down and started looking through all of these. It's a lot.
Probably 90% are because of those technical corrections.
Okay.
If we didn't have that issue, and I just want to say we've been working for several months with with the legislative auditor, with our auditor, to make sure we get this right. And it's not just us. This is statewide. Everybody is dealing with this. We've been talking to a lot of our counterparts. It just doesn't happen very often that interest rates jump this high and that you have this big of a difference. And I don't think anybody can really remember where this has happened again. And it's just this strange requirement, this technical requirement that just comes into play for everybody. And you think we have very conservative government securities, we'd be safe. But because the interest rates rose, it caused this. But probably 90% are related to that issue.
Gotcha. Okay, as long as you keeping us out of jail, Patrick, I got my faith in you.
I had a discussion with Patrick on this, and basically what it amounts to is regulatory issues.
Yes.
In order to meet the regulations, we've got to do this. It's a long, drawn-out process, but it's got to be done. Okay.
I would like to make
A motion?
To accept the
I'm sorry.
amendments.
Joel?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna bring up a meeting or two ago. Have we kind of touched on this and discussed it whenever I brought up that unemployment report? That has a lot to do with the interest rate and everything coming around. And you had said that we would do this. Is that's what you were talking about?
Say that again?
I'll ask you that later. Never
Yeah,
mind.
okay.
We're good.
Never mind. Okay.
I'll make I'd like to make a motion to accept the amendments to the proposed 22 and 23 budget.
Got a motion by Chase. Second by Coach. Any other questions, discussions? Aaron?
Yeah, I've been looking at this budget for a while, and I thank Patrick for working with me back and forth, answering the myriad questions I have. Because I go through this bit by bit, and a lot of the questions were perfectly answered, and even the ones that I had questions on, again, he answered those, so it's fantastic. The budget reflects what our priorities are. And that's our thing as a council. That's what we do. We set the budget, and it is a sign to the public of what do we think is important, what do we think is less important, and it's not easy because it's a zero-sum game. You have a budget, you take away some dollars from something, to put it on something else, something's going to win, something's going to lose. That being said, it's also very important, I think, for everybody, especially the public, to understand that a lot of our funds are dedicated. We can't do certain things with some funds. We can't move drainage funds to something else just because we want to. We can't move mental health funds or the animal control funds. They're dedicated to specific things. So there are very few places where we can move funds from one place to another. Am I correct, Patrick?
Yes, that's correct. The dedicated funds are dedicated to those purposes.
Yeah, and we have all these lighting districts, and you can't move that money around. It's got to stay in that lighting district. So I spent a lot of time looking at the budget and where we could make some improvements or change some things that at least reflect my priorities. And I've always been very concerned about recreation, and I think there are opportunities there. I've done a lot of research just in the past couple of days on opportunities in recreation that we could do and spend the money on. I've talked to multiple people in the administration about ideas with recreation, where we can do things, how we can use the money this year and in upcoming years. All that being said, it is leading up to something. I'd like to increase the recreation budget. Now, once again, if you look at our budget, we have got several things that we can't even touch. And anytime you do increase the budget, that means it has to come from somewhere else. I talked to people in administration, and they had what at first I thought was a really good idea to increase the percentage of money going from the 1% sales tax, the 10% of the excess money, to increase that ratio from 10% to 50 or 25%. The problem that I had with that was that 90% goes to roads and to transportation. So that would be me saying that, hey, I think recreation is more important than roads. And I don't. I think our transportation needs are greater than our recreation needs. So all that being said, I went through the budget. Our communications budget has ballooned. It has really gotten much larger in the past two to 3 years than what it was before. And I think there's an opportunity here to increase recreation. It has to come from somewhere. And I think our communications budget, I went through it. There's a lot of areas that I don't know if it's necessary that we're going to spend as much on some things that we have in there. There's a 150% increase for telephone lines so we can go live. We don't need to go live. We spent a lot of time taking pictures, whether it's at a banquet or a function, and it reminds me of the old the song I used to sing in church, "Though know we are Christians by our love." We don't need to take pictures of it all. People know that we're doing drainage work. People know that we're doing transportation work. I'd rather put the money into action, not into communication, because I think that action is recreation. We can do the work. We can do it right away. So I'd like to amend what we've already amended to add to it, that we transfer $325,000 from the communications budget into the recreation budget. And there is uses for it. I talked to a company today about, and this is an interesting use, about adding more solid, permeable parking to our recreation centers. And what that is we could get rid of some areas where we're redoing things. We could get rid of that asphalt and put solid parking down that's going to be permeable, which is also going to help drainage. And that's stuff, there's no supply issues there. It can be done. It can be done this year. If anybody's ever been to our parks, they know that there are things that can be done. And this goes, north, south, east, and west, all over the parish. All of our parks have needs. In addition, I'm just overwhelmed by the number of shootings and crimes that I'm seeing by kids, by young adults. We have an opportunity to put more. I know we are doing more already. We're putting more into programs, but east and west side, we can do more programs. We can buy more equipment to get kids off the street, get them involved with things. And unfortunately, it does take money. I'd love to be, Willy Wonka with recreation and let our imagination be the only thing that holds us back, but it doesn't. Money holds us back. That is what is holding us back in recreation. We can't all be Willy Wonkas in this. So that's my proposal. I'd like to amend the budget to add $325,000 to the recreation budget from the communications budget.
Second.
Okay. Got a motion just a second. Got a motion to amend the amendments already read to transfer $325,000 from communications budget to recreation budget.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. President.
Yeah. So I'm against this amendment. People don't know what we do. And it is our job to be transparent and to show that. And that happens through our communications department. We have a lot of programs that go on every day, and it's not showcased. But I think that we've done a better job of showcasing what we're doing, because it's not always visible. People don't know we're doing drainage projects. They don't know what road projects we do. They don't know what recreation projects we do. That comes directly, that transparency, which we all preach all the time. It comes out of that communications department. The things that allow us to upgrade this communication facility. All those things come out of that communications budget. And so taking from that takes away our transparency. If you want to find money for recreation, there's other places to find it. We can take it out of the general fund when the windfall comes from all the economic development coming. We have what money that we have available for recreation is sitting there. How much is that again?
Yeah, so one thing that we've talked about is we're trying to look to see, you talked about dedicated funds. Well, the health funds are kind of a perfect opportunity to do some of this programming we're talking about, whether it's Zumba or it's healthy living. These programs that recreation is trying to do, and there's opportunity. There's hopefully about $500,000. One of the things I forgot to mention with the amendments is we used to have the jail nurses coming out of the jail budget. Now they're coming out of health. Well, we're moving them back, so that's going to free up about $800,000, and so translating to about $500,000 that's going to be available hopefully for this programming that we've been talking about. One thing I also want to point out too is some of the money in communications is for the outreach for the Early Childhood Center to make sure we get the word out so that we do have the demand that we anticipate to have. Just quickly too, with recreation, their budget this year was started out at 4.7, and some of this is a capacity issue. It's going to go down to 3.7. A lot of the site work at the parks, it was just the capacity just wasn't there to get the work done. In addition, we've added $10 million to the park construction fund because of the rescue money. We're already running and gunning trying to get all these things underway, and so I do worry about a capacity problem because we've got so many projects already underway. So I would say, and as the president said, I think there's plenty of other sources that we can find if this really is a priority, but I hate taking it from communication when there is a plan of what that money would be spent for.
It's going to take away from transparency. It's going to take away from us showcasing what we do and what our employees do every day. And I'm going to say that's a negative because we pride ourselves on the hard work we do. And showcasing what our employees do every day is exactly what they deserve. Not only that, the public deserves. They deserve to see where their money's being spent, and that is a direct relationship to our communications department. We have the American Rescue money.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to say, we're going to spend millions on recreation coming up, redoing the armory on the West Bank, Coach. I think that's a good one that we got planned. Matter of fact, spending more money on recreation on the West Bank probably than we've ever done. I'd love to look at that budget comparison.
Is this a result?
Of parks.
Is this a result of the ARPA?
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of that money?
So
Yes.
$10 million directly to park construction. So what I would offer is I would love to sit down and start looking at these other sources, because we are thinking and we are trying to plan on this. We are looking at the healthcare funds, and to sit down and try to figure out where we can find these others without just taking it from an item that's already been planned and included in the budget.
Councilman Malonzo.
Yeah, so I don't have my budget book in front of me. Just out of curiosity, how much is in the budget for communications? How much does this cripple it?
So right now, yeah, 2023, it's projected at, $1 million? Yeah, $1,037,000. Recreation is budgeted at 4.7 plus the 14 million in the park construction fund.
Good. Yeah. I'm all for finding extra money for recreation, but man, for right now on a budget amendment that I'm just kind of heard of for the first time, not in writing. Me personally, I'd like to revisit this myself. I don't know how much that's going to affect, because I can also tell you, as a millennial, I think it's exceptional that we are on social media, we active and we're showing the constituents. I mean, you can go look at those videos all day; they're highly viewed and all that stuff. And I get told a lot that people like that we post the videos of what we do. They actually see what we do. When they're not in Santa Monica, they can see the videos just because they're in Prairieville, and vice versa. So. Me personally, I'm all for more recreation money, absolutely. But I'm gonna have to pass on that tonight, especially not in writing and just hearing it for the first time.
Councilman Lawler.
I'll be happy to write it down right now, if that makes a difference. We just heard about this for the first time also. Yeah, these amendments, we all heard about this for the first time just now. I look at the budget. We're going to send 3 people for an editing conference. Well, I mean, I think it's cool, but our editing is just fine. Like I said, we spend a lot of time just taking pictures of things. We're not, be frank with it. This communications budget is about getting reelected. Hey, let's show everybody what we're doing. I'd rather show people that we're doing things and building things and getting things done. It's easy to post things on Facebook, and it doesn't take $1 million to do that. This budget has gone up dramatically over the past 2.5 years. I think I'd rather put that money, it's about priorities. My priority is not getting reelected, it's not communications. My priority is putting more money into recreation. If we can put another $500,000 on top of that, if we find that, that's great, let's do it. Let's put $825,000 into recreation. Because if you look all around this parish, it's needed. Every single park has things that can be done. I talked to the baseball players out there. They have ideas of what we can do at their fields to make the fields better. Right now, we're collecting money from our constituents every time they play a sport. We could say, hey, you know what? We put an extra 325 into recreation. We're not going to take that from you now. It's an opportunity right there to put a little more money in our people's pockets. I think recreation's, prioritized. That's all it is. We have priorities, and that's what's shown in the budget. My priority is not communications. We are more than transparent. We've got, anybody can come to these meetings, talk to us, anybody can call us. We have the information. Let's show them what we're doing. So, transparency, that's a bunch of baloney. We're transparent. They can see everything they want. Putting a video of us at a banquet, putting a picture of us at a banquet isn't being transparent. That just shows that we're going to get a free meal somewhere. I'd rather put the money into recreation, stand by my amendment.
Can you write it down for me?
Yes. 5K into...
Councilman Lawler's going to write his proposed amendment. Coach?
I'd just like to, I don't know if we can answer this question, on how much of the $4 million we're spending on the recreation on the West Bank.
I don't have it separated out. I know we had provided you some information. We don't have that in front of us. But I know a lot of the projects for the park construction are on the West Bank. In fact, we're even trying to work on more grants for the West Bank, focusing on recreation as well. We can get back with that, and we just didn't bring it tonight.
Because we in looking at the recreation, we dismantled our recreation department for the hiring of a director. We had 2 directors at one time. At this point now, we don't have. We have someone that's in a different department that's running the recreation.
Yeah, we have 1 director for the entire parish.
Well, when I say director, I'm talking about the guy that's running recreation on the West Bank.
We only have 1 director. We don't have a director for West Bank, director for East Bank. We have 1 recreation director, Michael King, just 1, who handles both sides of the river. We don't try not to separate and have 1 director, because there's only 1 fund. There's not a fund for the West Bank and a fund for the West Bank like there is in drainage. So 1 recreation budget, and we try to spend money on both sides of the river. When we can.
Is there a distinction on how the money is being separated for the East and West Bank, for us recreation-wise, on how much you're going to spend on the West Bank, how much you spend on the East Bank?
Yeah, we'd be happy to present that at a recreation committee meeting. Mm-hmm. We didn't come with information separating East Bank, West Bank. That's not a priority when we do finances, to separate each and every account to know what's spent where, and try to think of us as 1 parish.
Okay. Councilman Lambert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate both parties on this, because I think now we're finally getting things out that we have outgrown all of our parks. We have no property to expand. I'm glad, Patrick, now we got some extra money out here. Now, I would like to see a plan when we start. I mean, I host all the T-ball at Paula Park. It's really nothing else we can, I need a community center. All the districts just about have a community center. I think we just, Mr. Lawler, this 300-something thousand, it's not even gonna touch the tip of what we got here. We need to purchase more property for all of our parks. If we have new money coming in, let's not chew all this up tonight. Let's put a plan together, and I think our recreation can really move forward. But let's face it, we have outgrown all of our parks, and we need the first thing, property. And then let's move on into the rest of the recreation. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Robert.
I appreciate hearing both sides of all of this, and I'm going to make mine simple. I just want to object to the amended motion. So I'm going to object.
Okay, any other discussion?
I will just add one thing. I wanted to echo what Councilman Lambert said is I know Ricky and Michael King are working on a plan, and they're trying to look at everything from a holistic standpoint, and we're committed to, working with them for the funding looking forward. And so I want to make sure everybody understands the way we do this budget is Dawn and I sit down with every single department and go object code by object code. So what you're seeing here is the result of a very detailed analysis. This isn't the administration messing with numbers. This is us looking at what we think is definitely needed at a very detailed level. That's why you see a reduction of $1 million for the current year for recreation, because it's not going to be spent. And that's why you see the increase next year, because we have that plan. Hopefully they can spend it. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this was a very thoughtful process of what does communication need. And I'll tell you something else that you've seen the strategic plans that I've been doing and we've been working on with these departments. I want to try to get into communications. I want to get into HR, and those are all ones that I think are necessary, because once you see the strategic plan and what is going on, it kind of opens your eyes. I know when everybody was looking at grants, they didn't have a clue how much work they do. When you look at the indicators and all of the work, it kind of jumps out at you. So before you just take funding out of communications, I would hope that you would give us that chance. Let's look at the strategic plan. What are they doing? What are their deliverables? Give us that time to look at the recreation plan. Give us time to make a holistic plan and not just move 300,000. I agree it needs to be a very thoughtful process.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have an amendment before us to approve budget amendments read by Kenneth with an amendment on behalf of Councilman Lawler to transfer $325,000 from communications budget to the recreation budget. We had a motion and a second, and we had an objection by Councilman Robert.
Wouldn't we have to vote on it separately?
No, this is the amendments that Kenneth read. This is an amendment to that.
Aaron
So
added.
it's part of it.
Aaron added to his motion to approve these, plus the amendment he added.
And if it doesn't pass, we'll go to the old motion.
Didn't I make the motion to approve?
Yes, but he made a
Yeah.
substitute motion, so if his fails, it'll revert back to yours.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and vote. Okay, we have 2 yeas and 6 nays. The motion failed, so we revert back to the original motion to amend the budget as read by Kenneth. Please vote. Is any objection to that? No, we have to do
Any objection to the amendments for
the
20?
amendment. If there's none, do we need a,
No, you're fine if there's no objection.
okay.
If there's no objection to the
So we don't-
amendments,
we don't have
those
to
are
vote.
adopted,
Okay.
and then you need to
Is there
vote
any
on.
objection to the original motion for Kenneth reading the proposed budgets?
And
The
the
amendments. We have a motion and a second already. This is a second. Okay, we got one objection.
I'm sorry, Councilman Lawler, are you objecting to the amendments? The proposed amendments?
just said that we have no objection to those.
So we're
Moving on to the full-
adopting the ordinance as amended? Okay.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Councilwoman Cazzo.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was a difficult vote because recreation is important to us. And so I want to really request that you get this done quickly. start making progress on it. It is a priority of this council that we improve our recreation facilities. We have a host of young people in our parish. And I am very much in agreement with Aaron. If they are not busy on the athletic field, if they are not inspired in some way, they're going to be doing things that they shouldn't be doing. It's just a proven fact. So we need to really make this a priority. I would ask that it become a priority of this administration, because this is the thing that can really make a difference. We're going to do a huge program to make a tremendous difference on the West Bank in early childhood development that will eventually come across to the East Bank, because there is need here. This is piloting on the West Bank. The next huge step that could make a difference in what our parish looks like in 10 years is how we handle our recreation and what we provide for our young people, as well as what we provide for us senior citizens. And it's just important. It's very important to me. I felt very conflicted in this vote, and so I want you to know how important it is, and I heard that amongst many of us. So I think that if we had a vote right now on what's one of our top priorities going forward, second to drainage, we'd all say roads and recreation. So we thank you for getting with us quickly.
Yeah.
If I may, Mr. President,
Sure.
I'm inspired by the fact that some of this recovery money is finally going to be spent. And I think that I've been pushing for that since we got it back in April of 21. We got the first round and we got the second round. So it's money that we can use. They opened up the flexibility of how we can spend it. Recreation is one of those areas. So I think that I'm glad to hear that we're going there. That's my comment, Mr. President.
So, yeah, we're dedicated to that. But what I would like to do as well is let's showcase our accomplishments up to date. Kudos to Councilman Turner, who has constantly pushed for recreation. Kudos to the brand new gym that we're gonna cut a ribbon on and have our people from Ascension Parish look at that additional recreation space that we spent millions of dollars on for that. Kudos for pushing for that, because that is a jewel. We're going to show what improvements we've made to the parks. We're also going to show some of the challenges, because we've had some vandalism, and we've had something that our guys have to come in and fix and take care of. We want to show improved lighting. So not only are we going to look forward, but we're going to showcase some of the things we have done. And I think that's important, because people don't realize that how much our dedicated staff has done, how much our recreation committee is dedicated to improving recreation and the projects we've done through that committee. So let's showcase some of that. And I think that is just as important as looking forward. It's one of those things where we've showcased drainage. Now it's time to showcase some of our recreational accomplishments over the last couple of years, and I'm dedicated to doing that as much as I am to looking forward as well, because they need to see that, because our staff does work hard. And we got a lot of great things coming, a lot of things currently in the works, and we need to showcase it all. And I'm going to be as dedicated to that as well as moving forward with a master plan where we can lean on Patrick to look at where we can get additional funds for recreation. And we all know that we have an economic boom coming, and there will be some windfall of tax monies, and it's going to be up to this council to decide that direction for that additional funds and where you want to put it. It's going to be a great opportunity for this parish as this economic windfall comes in the next few years. So we will have some money, and we're excited to put it to work for Ascension Parish residents. So definitely going to do that. Absolutely.
And I would just like to say, can I just add that I want to make sure we give a shout out to Ricky, Michael King, and Randy Mullis, because they are working and meeting every Wednesday and talking about these projects. I went and saw Randy today, and his marker board is full of recreation projects, and they are gung-ho to get them done. And I think the recreation meetings are a perfect place, as the president said, to showcase that project progress, because I know they're making it, and you know, it'd be great to see that. Just one other thing, I know Coach is pushing his button. I just want to also thank Dawn. I've said it before and I'll say it again, there is no budget without Dawn. These amendments were long nights, long days of her putting these things together and trying to make everything balance, talking to the auditor, getting everything right, so I just wanted to thank her as well.
Okay, Coach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just echo what Ms. Terry said for as prioritizing recreation. And I say that I would look to make sure that recreation across the board on the whole Ascension Parish. As of right now, Ascension Parish doesn't have anything on the West Bank that says recreation for as a recreational complex that we have on the West Bank that I'm proposing. I've talked about that a year ago, look at doing a recreational complex from the parish of Ascension, that we would have something across the board, recognizing that we do have something from Ascension Parish for recreation on the West Bank, other than what we have as of this point. Moving forward, upgrading the parks that we're gonna have, and we do have a lot of things in the near future that's going on for us, early childhood and some other things that we have, that we're moving forward with. But recreation, for me, as well as Mr. Lawler is talking about, is top priority for us moving forward, especially on the West Bank, that we would have a facility from the parish.
Okay.
That,
Good comments, Coach. That'd be good to bring up at a recreation meeting. Thank you.
Just wanted to echo that, make sure that we
Councilwoman
keep that
Castle.
in
One more thing. Where's Ricky? Is he still here?
No.
We've been planning for 5 years now, a water park in Dutchtown. It's taking too long. Please. I mean, look, we've supported gyms, we've supported all kinds of things. This is like a little bitty bit of money compared to what other things have cost. And my constituents have earned at least a spray park. And so I thank you very much for addressing your attention to that project. Can we get that thing done? I mean, we're in a collaborative arrangement with the library. They gave us the property. I mean, we couldn't get one any cheaper than that. So I'd love to see a project like that in my district finished up. So thank you very much.
All right, some great comments. Thank you for the discussion. I think we got some topics to go before the Recreation Committee next month. Thank y'all. So we have a motion to adopt the amendments as read by Kenneth, correct? And a second? So we did vote on that, okay. And item C, ordinance to amend the 2022 budget and appropriate the 2023 budget for Ascension Parish.
You voted on that.
We did? We go to D, correct? Time for a break. Everybody agree? We're going to take about a 5-minute break, recess, and we'll come back. We'll continue the council meeting. We took a brief recess, and that puts us to item 10D, reading of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium industrial to conservation to heavy industrial, medium industrial, and light industrial located on the north side of LA 405, approximately 4,000 feet west of Knoll Road, zoning review ID PZ 2969.22, part of Germania Plantation for Tommy Knoll.
Motion to open public hearing?
Kenneth has to read the ordinance first.
No problem. Purpose, this ordinance amends the official zoning designation for part of Germania Plantation per attached legal description from medium industrial and conservation to heavy industrial, medium industrial, and light industrial. This rezone is identified as zoning review IDPZ 2969.22. Whereas Ascension Parish is a local governmental subdivision as defined by Article 6, Section 44 of the Louisiana Constitution of 1974, and whereas the Parish of Ascension is the governing and responsible body over the zoning and regulations within the jurisdiction, and whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4th, 1993, identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish, and whereas the official zoning map of Ascension Parish was last adopted on March 8, 2016, and whereas the Parish Council reserves the authority to make changes to the official zoning map by ordinance, and whereas this request has been processed in compliance with the procedures set forth, be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority that the official zoning map of Ascension Parish, Louisiana is amended to reflect the property identified in Exhibit A as heavy industrial, medium industrial, and light industrial as the official zoning designation. Severability: in the event that any portion of this ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of the ordinance. The effective date: this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. Exhibits A, legal description; B, plot map; C, aerial/zoning map. Adoption: this ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion by Aaron to open a public hearing, second by Coach. Motion to close by Joel, second by Terry. Motion to move the ordinance. Motion by Terry, second by Aaron. Any objection? Being none, motion carries. Item G, reading of an ordinance to revoke, set aside the dedication of two pieces of property shown as Texas Public Road and Public Road of subdivision of Helene Plantation plat, and to declare the roads abandoned. Please read the ordinance, Kenneth.
Purpose: to revoke and set aside the dedication of two pieces of property shown as Texas Public Road and Public Road on the attached subdivision of Helene Plantation plot and declare the roads abandoned. Whereas the plat of the subdivision Helene Plantation shows two pieces of property shown on said plat as Texas Public Road and Public Road that were dedicated to the Parish of Ascension for the perpetual use of the public, and whereas the aforementioned properties have never been used as a public road or street, and whereas the Department of Public Works has certified that it has not used the property for any public use and has no intention of ever utilizing the property for any public use, now therefore be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council that it hereby revokes the two pieces of property shown as Texas Public Road and Public Road on the plot of subdivision of Helene Plantation attached here to and made a part hereof as Exhibit A, and declare said roads abandoned. Repeal all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby and henceforth repealed. Severability: if any provision of this ordinance is held to be invalid, such invalidity shall not affect other provisions herein which can be given effect without the invalid provisions, and to this end the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. Effective date: this ordinance shall be in full effective 15 days after adoption. This ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Get a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by Dempsey to open the public hearing. Second by Coach. Motion to close by Joel. Second by Coach. I need a motion to move the ordinance. Moved by Dempsey, second by Terry. Any objection? Being none, motion carries. Item J, reading of an ordinance to revoke, set aside a dedication of 60-foot by 200-foot and 290-foot piece of property shown as Oak Leaf Avenue on attached final plat of Oak Ridge subdivision Phase 2 and declare the road abandoned.
Motion.
Second. Oops, gotta have a read.
Read the ordinance, please, Kenna.
We're all tired.
Purpose, to revoke and set aside the dedication of a 60-foot by 290-foot piece of property shown as Oak Leaf Avenue on the attached final plat of Oak Ridge Subdivision Phase 2 and declare the road abandoned. Whereas the plat of Oak Ridge Subdivision Phase 2 dedicated a 60-foot by 290-foot piece of property to be called Oak Leaf Avenue to the parish of Ascension for the perpetual use of the public, and whereas aforementioned property has never been used as a public road or street, and whereas the Department of Public Works has certified that it has not used the property for any public use and has no intention of ever utilizing the property for any public use, now therefore be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council that it hereby revokes a 60-foot by 290-foot piece of property shown as Oak Leaf Avenue on the final plat of Oak Ridge Subdivision Phase 2 attached here to and made a part hereof as Exhibit A, and declares said road abandoned, repeal. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby and henceforth repealed. Severability, if any provision of this ordinance is held to be invalid, such invalidity shall not affect other provisions herein, which can be given effect without the invalid provisions. And to this end, the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. Effective date, this ordinance shall be in full effective 15 days after adoption. This ordinance has been submitted to vote. The vote thereon is as follows.
Need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Dempsey to open the public hearing, second by Terry.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Terry. Second by Dempsey. Need a motion to move the ordinance.
So moved.
Motion to move the ordinance by Terry. Second by Chase. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item 11, discussion and presentation of proposed district maps for council district reapportionment. Mike Hefner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Good seeing you all. We had several workshops working through rebalancing your election districts, and it was my understanding that the council wanted to make a tentative decision on which one to move forward to for introduction, which is Plan 4A or 4B. And looking at them, both of them meet all the requirements of the Voting Rights Act as well as meeting state statutes. So it's really up to the council as to what your preference is. The only difference between 4A and 4B is an area up on the north end of the parish around the Colonial Drive areas that is moved from District 5 into District 7. That's the only difference between the two plans. All the other districts are the same between 4A and 4B.
Okay. What I'd like to recommend is that we go forward and, I guess, propose both of these and then have a vote on those. See which one the council would like to approve, if that's okay with everybody. We're having just discussion. Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Havner, thank you for your work and for all of the time you spent with us in workshops. For me, this is an opportunity for the public to see, because those workshops, while they were public meetings, they were not televised. And so I think it's important, and I would really like for those maps to be shown so that the public can see them. I have an area of concern that I've had since early on, and if indeed, and I think it is in both maps, the West Bank is down to one representative, that is concerning. It's troublesome to me that the West Bank would find itself losing half of its representation on this council. It's just troubling to me.
I understand.
I've been doing this for a number of years, and I know how important it is sometimes to have an ally and to be able to bring two votes to the table and start looking then for other support. And I think the members of the East Bank community have that opportunity because there are other votes. It worries me about the West Bank losing, a huge part of its representation on the council. So I just want the public to be aware that that's happening, and I've expressed my concern about it in those other meetings to Coach. I want to express my concern about it again to him, I understand wanting to be, kind of having it in one person's hands. I get that, but I really do, I do have my concerns about whether that's good for the West Bank over the long haul. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Coach?
Yes, I'm very concerned myself. I mean, I appreciate Ms. Terry's comments. I know we've worked diligently to try and get the two councilmen on the West Bank, and this effort that we had moving forward in moving some parts around. We hadn't met. I know we're supposed to be meeting pretty soon to allow us to get that put in those positions that I need to put in order to make that happen. And for us meeting with you individually, I think the chairman of the full council would be best that we meet collectively to see if we can come up with a solution in terms of getting the two councilmen representing the West Bank. And I think it's possible that we can do that with some movement that I have in place that I'd like to show you moving forward and getting those.
Yeah, you and I have had a lot of discussion about trying to set it up to where we have at least two council members. That came out from the very first workshop that we had discussed. It is complicated by the fact that West Bank lost so much population with the 2020 relative to everyone else. So as you share that lower population, that means that District 1 has to go further up. That's what plans 2 and 3 were trying to do, but unfortunately, where it has to go was affecting the minority representation for District 3. And that was bringing it down really too low. It was below my comfort level. But we do have time. It's really a matter of what the council wishes to do with regards to it. If you want to have another workshop and work through another idea, I have no problem with that. I'm at your disposal for this. If you're comfortable moving forward with 4A, 4B, or anything else, that's fine with me as well. I'm really here just at whatever the council wishes to do as a collective body.
I would collectively like to have another workshop and put it in.
Let me get other comments right now, okay, Coach? Okay. Dempsey?
Yeah, and, there's other parties involved with this. How the schedule, if you come across, you're gonna have to move precincts. Let's face it, someone's gonna have to move, and I know you don't wanna hear this, but there's some precincts that are gonna have to move. How much time, I know everyone's on a deadline here, how much time if we move precincts, or is that even?
Statutory, you have till June to adopt the plan, but any redistricting plan is relatively complicated to implement because we're going to be creating some additional precincts. Polling places are going to have to be assigned to those precincts. That's all going to have to be programmed into the state system, as well as your registrar is going to have to update all that. Clerk's going to have to get machines lined up and whatnot for the upcoming fall election. You don't want to wait till June if you can avoid it. If you do something, January, February, I think we're okay. Everybody's busy right now trying to finish up with the fall elections right now, but I really wouldn't go too much further than that. And I really don't think you're that far away on a plan that it's going to take more time than that. If it's something that you want to have another workshop with and then spend the holidays kind of mulling over it and then we reconvene in early January, I don't see a problem with that from my end. I don't see a problem with that from the timeline. But the more time we can give the state and the local registrar time to put all this into place and work out any kinks in it, the better off and the smoother the election is going to go in the fall.
Yeah. Chase. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chase. Then I'll go to.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment that I think it was, is it plan? I'm sorry, I'm looking at, Plan 4, so that was the map right before our last open house?
Yes,
And we,
4A.
and we had District 2 was still on the West Bank. Could it be as simple as just, putting the bottom of Plan 4 with 4A or B?
With regards to the District 1 situation? Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, 4 was the plan that we went to a workshop with. 4A was one variation that came out of discussions, and 4B came out right at the very end of those discussions. Yeah, I think the part of the issue with that was, I think Coach was a little uncomfortable about where some of 2 was coming in, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Coach? Okay, and I think that was, that concern is what led to a modification, which was 4A, and then a little slight one for 4B. So, but Coach had discussed another particular area coming down into Donaldsonville, but we did not get together and discuss that. Chairman, and I think rightfully so, would rather do this collectively as a group, because you move one line, it affects other people. So if we want to do that and have an opportunity to discuss it, I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it look like I'm pushing y'all.
No.
Because y'all not pushing me.
No.
Yeah.
I actually got time on this now.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo Ms. Castle. I would always like District 1 to have a ally on the West Bank. Just.
He's got an ally in Prineville.
Councilwoman.
Yeah, the only one thing I wanted to remind everybody of is this is a long plan. This is a long-term thing. This is the next 10 years.
So you'll visit this again in 2031.
Yes. I mean,
and it's going to be on a short deadline then.
Yes, and our expectation is, and I truly believe it's going to happen, the West Bank is going to grow. I believe everything that's being done through Ascension Economic Development, I just have to believe that it's going to happen. And so as it grows, I don't want it to grow without the appropriate level of representation here on this council. It will have to live with this for 10 years.
And I'm hoping the 2030 census is going to be more accurate than the 2020. Because I can tell you the 2020 was not accurate. I've been working with the census data electronically since 1990. It's probably the least accurate census that I've seen. And I've probably worked in well over 38 parishes in the state with the 2020. And as you know, we get down to the block level. And you just see numbers just don't add up to what you actually see in the street. So we're hoping that maybe by 2030 we'll have a better one. We won't have a COVID-type event.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yeah. First, I want to say this is a 100% council decision, so I will not give my opinion based on that. What I will say is I just want you to consider something. If you only have one representative on the West Bank, you will have to restructure West Ascension drainage, because you cannot. And I do not know what that looks like, so that needs to be a consideration when choosing 1 versus 2 representatives on the West Bank. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll make a comment. I spoke to our registrar, Shaney, and DeBridget, and they're tied up with this current election, especially Shaney. And she said she really won't be able to do much after December 10th election, because she's going to have an audit immediately following that, and the results of that audit won't come around until the first of the year. So I just asked her, give us a time frame where it would be convenient, but we have until June 30th or July 4th, whatever it is. And she said sometime in February, March would work for me. She said the sooner the better, after she gets this audit complete and she gets to review it. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if it's the will of the council, we can schedule another workshop, bring this out some more, or we can talk about it at that workshop and look at a path forward if we want to decide on a couple of plans and go with those. I'm open to whatever the will of the council is. Chase?
That's the will.
I'm sorry, Aaron was first.
I was just going to ask you, do we have to make sure for West Bank representation that is not just nominal? I mean, my concern is if we just have a nominal, a chunk with 50 people in it, the person representing that chunk is never going to truly worry about the West Bank. Do we have to make sure the numbers are actually, I don't want to say controlling, but are significant enough that you have to worry about the voters?
That's where it gets a little dicey, is because District 1, West Bank is already so low. You know, the more you share West Bank with an East Bank district, then that means the further that District 1 has to deviate from its current boundaries and go further into the East Bank. One of the things you want to try to do is try to minimize changing the lines around radically, unless there's a really good reason to. You try to change it a little as possible. It helps avoid voter confusion. But I think it's a good step to take. Let's see what we can do. And then it's going to be up to the council to decide whether they feel like that's adequate representation as far as numbers go. But I don't see where you're going to be able to get to where it's going to be a 40-60, 50-50 or anything like that. It's not going to be nominal. A couple of options that I've been looking at, you know, you'll be picking up some of the city, but whether you say, well, I can win or lose an election, whether I have them or not, you know, it's really going to be hard to say. I mean, you've had some elections here around the state that have been won by 1 or 2 votes. You know, so every vote counts. But I understand what you're saying. You don't want to just pop over, pick up a couple of census blocks and say, well, we achieved a second council member.
It's just false representation, and it's going to leave those people with nothing, you know, nothing as far as true representation goes. And I just want to make sure we avoid that.
Yeah, the good thing is with 4 as a kind of, or 4A or 4B as a base plan, because I think from just judging from feedback from the council members, I think you're about 95% there on a plan. The good thing is that if we work with 1 and 3, maybe a little bit with 2, we'll have to take a look at the numbers and see. 3 in particular has a little bit of room to gain some population without affecting its East Bank side. You have some opportunity to pick up some if you cross over. District 2, maybe a little bit more so, but Coach has some concerns about coming in on that east side of the West Bank. So that's why we ended up with 4A and 4B. When we first had the first workshop, Ms. Terry, you'll recall, we came in on the west side of the West Bank, and there were some concerns with that. That's why that got dropped. So it's really trying to find that happy medium that you can live with. Because there's not going to be any configuration that everybody's going to jump up and down and 100% say, yeah, let's go with this. It's going to be what you can live with. Because the numbers in the geography tell you what you got to do and what you can do.
Well, as Dempsey said, if I can intercede here, Chase, before you speak, regardless, we're going to have some precincts impacted.
Yes, oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
The precinct splits was what we were trying to do to minimize, so it wouldn't, you know, create work for the registrar, create work for Bridget, and confuse the public.
Correct. You want to try to minimize it to the extent that you can, but you don't want to sacrifice a good plan of representation for that. But you also don't want to willy-nilly just not pay attention to your precincts and what effect it's going to have.
Right. Okay, Chase, go ahead.
Yeah, so, Mr. Mike, are you going to be the one that's drafting the ordinance for us? You're going to be...
Yes, I do it all turnkey because I have all the information. Right. It's easier for me to do it.
So whenever we get to a point to where we think, you know, we're kind of comfortable, how long does that take you, you know, to draft up? Like, I'm just thinking, you know, time-wise.
Usually about a week or so. Yeah, I'm fairly efficient at it. I just finished concluding about 80 projects with the 2022 election cycle, so I'm fairly efficient at it. But I like to kind of do it, leave it, let it lie for a little bit, come back a day or 2 later and go back over it, because I'm not the best at proofing my own work when I'm trying to do it all at one time, at one sitting. So I like to have at least a week or so.
I do have one more question, just about precincts, especially like, I think there's a few of them. I hate to, let me just like call out each map, but we have some precincts that just when you look at it aesthetically, like they look like they should be cleaned up because you have you might have 4 dead-end roads all within a mile of each other, and the back half of the road, all these roads are represented, differently from the people who live at the front of the roads. Like you're passing neighbors at a dead-end road, and you have a different representative.
Yeah, precinct boundaries is a rather interesting thing. They evolve over time, and there's various reasons why those precinct boundaries get set the way they do. Of course, I'm new coming into your redistricting, so I don't have a lot of the history as to what boundaries may have been used, why they were used, things like that. But I certainly understand what you mean, because I've seen some of that. To correct that, sometimes it takes several years. Sometimes it takes a couple of 2 or 3 redistricting cycles before you can do it, because you are limited on resetting some precinct boundaries. But there are opportunities that sometimes you can clean it up. The canvas that Shani and them are going to have at the beginning of the year, that's going to identify the very small precincts that you may be able to merge. If you merge those into a larger precinct, then sometimes those little troublesome boundaries disappear.
Okay.
So it's those kind of things that we do on a precinct management side. Sometimes we can clean them up. Sometimes there's not a lot we can do about it until the next cycle.
Okay.
Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe the parish president or the permit office could help us. A lot of these districts, I mean, they weren't even on the map. We've already had, I know a couple hundred houses already in Pelican Crossing that has been built. Is there any way that we can get how many permits was issued in 4A and 4B? Just to kind of, I mean, it's a shame there's people living here. Mm-hmm. And they're not counted, because the census was already done. So yeah. I would like to know in those 2 plans, how many permits was issued in each one of those that could possibly help the west side, and because it's already established and it's already developed.
Yeah, the problem that you run into that is by law, you have to use the 2020 census numbers. So we can't augment it by new construction, new occupancy since the 2020. The only way you can get around that is if you authorize the taking of a new census parish-wide, and it has to be done in such a methodology that the federal government approves it, and that is a very expensive undertaking. Even for a municipality, it's a very expensive undertaking. So unfortunately, you're going to be stuck regardless what those numbers say. The most you could do is say, well, we have a high growth area, Pelican Point's high growth, we'll try to keep that district low. We'll try to keep it around the -5%, so we'll get some growth, some padding in it between now and 2030. But if the geography doesn't work well for that, then you're going to be limited to what you can do. But we can't take those numbers and add them to your 2020.
I know, it's a shame that they're there.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind too, these numbers represent people that responded to the census. Statewide, it was 65% response rate. That's statewide. That means 65 out of every 100 households responded. So you're only counting basically those people. The ones that didn't respond, they're not showing up in the numbers. They're out there, but they're not showing up in the numbers. And unfortunately, historically, minority communities are the ones that are least likely to respond to the census, even though they're the ones that probably should be the ones that do respond to it, because a lot of assistance is given out based on population. The issue with 2020 with COVID, though, is that a lot of people in the minority community wait for a census taker to come knock on the door and get the information, and that didn't happen because of COVID. So not only did they not respond the traditional way, they did not respond because there was no census taker. So they got even further undercounted. So it's been a really tough situation to deal with. Unfortunately, we're locked into the numbers. So all we can do is try to make the best that we can with it.
Okay. Councilman Lawler.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that we are bound by the census numbers. We can't.
Yes, in the state and federal law, in the Voting Rights Act and also in the state statutes, it represents that specific census file.
Yeah. Well, I guess, well, I've got you here. You know, I was looking at the numbers. It looks like District 2 is a little low. Just, it's like 4.7% or maybe 5.7% low. Is that any concern that it's close to 6, or can we look to bump that one up to get a little closer?
You could. Now, if you have a lot of growth area that's coming, that'll be going into District 2, then you want to keep it low. If it's going to be relatively stable being a relative term for Ascension Parish,
Yeah.
it's not going to grow quite as fast as some of the other areas, then we can make some adjustments on that. We can certainly take a look at that at a workshop if you want to have another one. Again, we're trying to use whole precincts to the greatest extent possible, and some of your precincts have a lot of people in them. So they may be small geographically, but they're very dense.
Okay.
So again, it's just like we've done in the workshops. We see what works and what doesn't work. Some of the things we would like to see just didn't work. Some we like to see, but it split 14 and 15 precincts, which is a lot.
Okay, Mike, any other questions? Mike, can't thank you enough for coming tonight. We appreciate you giving your time.
I enjoy working with y'all on it. It's an
Terry,
important
go ahead.
process. I'm glad to see you taking it seriously.
Just want to.
Go ahead, Coach.
Okay. That we make sure we get 2 councilmen on the West Bank. I'm not sure how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna figure it out.
That is going to be up to y'all.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We'll have some discussions with the secretary and come up with a plan. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good
Before
evening
we
and a great
adjourn tonight,
Thanksgiving.
I'd like to just thank all my council members, fellow council members, at being patient with me. It was a long agenda. I think we did pretty good. Thank y'all so much, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Safe travels.
Need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Dempsey, second by Coach. We are adjourned.